Okay, hi guys. This is the whatever this is, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday lecture. We're going to talk about interval notation. Interval notation is a way of writing an inequality with brackets. So we're going to talk a little bit about these brackets. First thing, I want to make sure you know the difference between less than and greater than, because I don't know, just being a high school spirit teacher, I know it's not always something to remember about greater than and less than. A couple ways you can remember it. Oops, less than 2. All right, so the way that one way to remember that is less than, you can kind of turn into an L, and greater than, you really can't. It's a backwards L if you flip it around. So that's one way to think about it. And the other way, of course, is that the alligator opens to the bigger number, right? Hopefully you learned that back somewhere. So if I look at this, the alligator opens to the X, so that means the X is bigger than the 2 because the alligator is going to go for the bigger food. All right, and if I look at this guy, the alligator opens to 2, so 2 is bigger than X, or X is less than 2. So make sure you get your directions correct. I mean, greater than, I almost think of it like an arrow, greater than is going up, less than is going down. All right, and if you have a bar underneath, remember it can be equal. All right, so let's talk about interval notation. So interval notation is a way of writing an inequality. Some things to keep in mind with interval notation. I should mention this before I get there. All right, so if I want to say X is greater than 2, on a number line, I draw the number 2, 0, 1, 2, and I do an open circle, and I go up this way. So if I don't have an equals on a number line, I use an open circle. And if I had X is less than 2, well, then we'd go the other way, right? Here's 2, and we'd go this way, right? Now, if X were greater than or equal to 2, the only thing I would change is, here's my 2, I would fill in this with a closed dot whenever I have an equal, right? And if X is less than or equal to 2, it's the same thing, closed dot, but we're going to go shade to the left. Less than is left. Okay. All right, so why am I saying this? Because the brackets kind of, when you don't have an equals, rather than, when we're going to use the brackets, keep in mind a bracket is, you're going to use a round bracket, all right? And when you're, no matter what, okay. So when you don't want to equal something, you're going to use a round bracket. When you want to equal to, you're going to use a square bracket. So a square bracket means that you're including that value as part of the interval that you're interested in. So when I say X is greater than or equal to 2, I'm including 2. So I use a square bracket. So if I'm including it, I'm using a square. If I'm not, I'm using a round, which brings up the point of infinity. I don't care if it's plus infinity or negative infinity, you can never reach infinity. All right. So what that means is, because you can't reach it, infinity will always be enclosed with a round bracket. Okay. All right. So let's talk about whatever this thing is, interval notation. All right. I'm going to clear my writing here. Well, I guess I got room. All right. So with interval notation, what we do, it's just another way of writing an inequality. So if X is greater than A, one of the things that can help you with this is a number line. All right, so I put A on the number line, and greater than means I shade to the right. And what you do with an interval is, if you have greater than, so this would be an open circle, right? Because we don't want to include A. So when you have an open circle, you use a round bracket. You tell them where you started. So I started at A. Where you end. Now this goes out forever, so that goes to positive infinity. And we know that infinity has a round bracket. So that would be the interval notation for that. Okay. All right, if I want to say X is less than A, so remember on a number line, I would do this with a round circle, which means I need an open circle, which I need an open bracket. So it's going to be round. All right, and we always, the thing that you have to remember with interval notation is you always go from lower to higher, or from left to right. So A is actually the upper limit. Well, what's the lower limit? The lower limit is negative infinity, right? We're going from negative infinity to A. We always go from left to right. If I write A to a negative infinity, that's not correct. Okay, in a round bracket. because infinity, we can never reach it. All right, so if I want to say x is greater than or equal to a, this would be a closed dot on a number line. And so closed dot means square bracket. So, and I'm going out to infinity. So I'm going from a to infinity. We're heading toward infinity. So we go from a to infinity. Because we're including a is going to be a square bracket. Infinity, always round. Oops. All right. So if I want to say x is less than or equal to a, this would be a closed dot. So we're going from negative infinity up to a. A is a square bracket because we're including it. Negative infinity has to be round because infinity we can never reach. All right, if I want to say that x, this is a compound, what they call compound inequality. It tells me that x is between a and b. So it's bigger than a and less than b. So you'll know there's no equal, so that means I'm going to use nothing but round brackets, round circles, open circles. And I go from a to b, reading left to right, and because they're open circles, round brackets. Okay, so now here, this reads a little different. This is greater than or equal to a and less than b. So I'm still going from a to b. It's just that a would be a closed circle because of that equals, and b would be an open circle. So a is a square bracket and b is a round bracket. Okay. But you can tell what's coming. All right, we want to include b now and exclude a. So a would be round, b would be square. B would be closed. All right, so we're going from a to b still. A is going to be round because I'm not including a, I'm including b, so it's going to be square. And the last one is I want a to be less than or equal to a, x to be less than or equal to, x to be less than or equal to b and greater than or equal to a. So those are both closed circles now. So that just tells me square brackets. I'm going from a to b. Okay. So that's your interval notation. Okay. Let's talk about or and with the interval notation. I don't know, I think it should be talked about. So, one of the things you might see, you might have to write a compound inequality. A compound inequality might look something like this. X is greater than 3 or x is less than 1. All right, with this kind of inequality, you're going to have two sets of brackets with the or. So the and you only have one, but the or you have two. Let's see why. On a number line, if x is greater than 3, here's 3, and it goes up, right? If x is less than 1, here's 1, and it goes down. So I have two lines that I'm shading, one here and one here. So I'm going to have two sets of brackets. So this is one. I'm going to write, here's negative infinity, here's infinity. So for the first line here, x goes from negative infinity to 1. So I'm going to write that down. Round bracket and round bracket at 1 because there's no equal. So that would be the first. The second one starts at 3. It goes to infinity. Infinity is round, and 3 is going to be round. Now, they'll put this thing in between. They'll put a union symbol in between because remember what union means. It really means or, right? So there we go. Okay, so that's why they put the union there, okay, because you're unioning those two solutions together. All right, so the orals will always have two branches that go apart from each other. So it'll be something like this. All right, the other one, well, these were the ands. See, the ands go together like this guy here. All right, but the ors will have two separate solutions, okay? All right, so now that we said that, let's go work some interval notation. All right, so our first example is x is greater than 3. So, all I got to do is put some numbers on there. There's my number line. Oops. Sorry about that. All right, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. All right, greater than 3 means it's an open circle and we're going that way, out to infinity. So in bracket notation, I'm going from 3 to infinity. Infinity is always round. And 3, because there's no equal, is going to be round. Okay. All right. X is less than 5. All right, so here's my number line. 5. I'm going down, less than left. All right, so we're going from negative infinity to 5. Round bracket next to infinity. 5 is an open circle, so round bracket. All right, here's an interesting one. X can be anything except 5. X can't be 5. It's a lot harder to write with bracket notation, but okay, so here's 5. It's unacceptable. There's an open dot there. So I have one going this way and one going that way. So I can go from negative infinity to 5 or 5 to infinity. All right, so you see I have two little branches. So I'm going to write my two branches. All right, and so none of these are inclusive, so they're going to be round brackets and a union. So it says X is less than 5 or X is greater than 5. All right, so here, this is one that's an and, so you're going to have two things going together toward each other. So this says, where to go? X is greater than or equal to -2 or less than 2. All right, so on a number line, here's -2, and here's 2. 2, -2 closed. 2 would be open. Sorry about that. And then we just everything in between. All right, so with bracket notation, I'm going from -2 to 2. Because there's an equal here, I'm going to put a square bracket and no equal on the upper end, so I'm going to put a round bracket. Okay, so this is an OR, so I expect to have two branches. I'll draw it on the number line so you can see I've got two branches. Here's 3, here's -1, less than -1, or greater than 3. This is negative infinity. So read left to right. So the first set's from negative infinity to -1. Ooh. And the second set's from 3 to infinity. All right, looks like round brackets all the way across, no equals. Put a little union in between, okay? And this last one is a typo. I don't know what it is. Let's say it was X is greater than or equal to 10. Let's just say that's what it was supposed to be. So remember, from here, all you got to do, we're going from 10 up with a closed dot. So we're going from 10 to infinity. And 10 is going to be square. Okay. All right, so this is interval notation. You want to get comfortable with that because that's what they frequently use in these classes. So once you get used to it, it's much faster than writing all the inequalities. All right, so this is the first part of my lecture. I'm going to go back in my second part and talk about probability distribution tables. Okay.